A secret Moscow database leak exposes a stunning truth. Thousands of foreign fighters have been quietly recruited to wage war for Russia in Ukraine, despite Vladimir Putin's public denials. Mercenaries from Asia, Africa, Europe, even the United States, are signing contracts slipping through the cracks of Moscow's shadowy enlistment machine. View from Nepalese workers turned soldiers to former Western paratroopers. Desperation, poverty, and hidden deals are fueling Russia's foreign legion. The Kremlin's dirty secret is out, and the fallout could shake battlefields far beyond Ukraine. The Kiev Post reported on April 27th that the independent Russian news site, Important Stories or iStories, has studied a leak from Moscow's medical database. The Unified Medical Information and Analytical System, or IMAGES. The study was revealed after the IT systems of the capital city halls were hacked by the Dump Forum Group. In April 2020, for examination of the data revealed that in Moscow alone, more than 1,500 foreign mercenaries from almost 50 countries were recruited for Russia's war in Ukraine between April 2023 and May 2024. This was despite Russian President Vladimir Putin having declared in September 2023 that we have no need to invite people from outside to fight. 300,000 Russian citizens have signed contracts who came as volunteers in addition to information on the numbers and names of foreigners involved. The iStories report reveals how Moscow's authorities tried to obscure the way their recruitment has been carried out. The study found that a recruitment center was established in early 2023 at an apartment block at Building 1 at Elysia Yabloko, over 5, in Moscow's Tiberius Nevsky district. According to the report, the registration office was located on the first floor, and a medical center in which pre-mobilization medicals were held was located on the third floor. AMI as documentation for recruits to Russia's armed forces includes information about their residence. A review of this documentation found that almost 300 of the identified foreigners said they resided in apartment 302 at Lolita Yabloko, over 5, on the same floor as the medical center. The data leak also provides evidence of the speed at which the recruitment process for foreign volunteers was completed. The volunteering procedure required each potential fighter to provide a photograph, passport, and other documents and fill out a questionnaire at the center's reception, after which they were issued with a ticket before proceeding. Other documents showed that following the induction, each mercenary was issued a bank card in order to report to the Avant-Garde Training Center located in Patriot Park in the Soho district of Moscow. The data of a Nepalese volunteer showed he was required to report there the next day when he published a photo on social media of himself already wearing a Russian uniform. Foreign mercenaries reportedly spent about 2 weeks in avant-garde awaiting orders before being sent for an unspecified period of training, ahead of being dispatched to the front. Most foreign volunteers that passed through the Yabloko Center came from Nepal, 603 in total, followed by 64 from Sri Lanka, 51 from China, and 43 from India. That iStories wrote that apart from these Asian countries, at least 2 Americans and several dozen volunteers from Western Europe were identified, along with more than 70 from Middle Eastern countries, including Egypt, Iran, and Syria, according to the leak. The first Nepalese appeared in the Russian army no later than May 20th, 23. Their recruitment continued at least until December 20th, by the beginning of January 2024, when Nepal stopped issuing work permits in Russia. Residents of that country had not appeared on public cover for 2 weeks, according to Nepalese media reports. Residents of the country joined the Russian armed forces even after the authorities banned them. This was confirmed by data from the leak, as iStories found for Nepalese citizens who passed the selection for a contract in January and February 2024. The report said that Russia does not inform relatives of Nepalese who went to war about their fate in March 2025. Several families of the dead and missing Nepalese came to Moscow to demand that Russia pay compensation for the dead and find the missing. According to the Nepalese embassy, about 12 million rubles should be transferred to the accounts of relatives, according to their social networks. Many mercenaries from Nepal returned home after the end of the one-year contract, but some remained in the Russian armed forces until at least April 20th, 25. More recently, in March 2025, Nepalese could be found not only in Ukraine but also in the Kursk region. Not only Asians, but also Westerners arrived to fight for Russia. ISIS found several dozen EU citizens and 2 U.S. citizens in the data leak. One of them turned out to be the full namesake of a former American serviceman from the 82nd Airborne Division. 30-year-old Matthew Kyle Dubin from Nevada. His name and age, as indicated in the email's leak, matched the data from the open database of American voters. At least 34 citizens of European countries passed through the capital selection point for contract service. 3/4 of them came from countries that Russia considers unfriendly because of their support for Ukraine. These were Great Britain, France, Belgium, Italy, and Austria. Among European countries, the absolute leader in the number of foreign mercenaries is Russia's friendly Serbia, whose volunteers have been fighting on the Russian side since the beginning of the war in eastern Ukraine in 2014. At least 8 Serbs passed through the selection point for a contract in Moscow from 2023 to 2024. Another 71 people on the list are from Middle Eastern countries like Egypt, Iran, Iraq, Libya, Syria, Turkey, Algeria, and other countries in the region. Many of which are also engulfed in armed conflict. Almost half, 44% of the people from the Middle East who appeared on the cover are originally from Egypt. The leak revealed that the first Egyptian volunteers began to appear at the Moscow recruitment point back in April 2023, as soon as it began operating. Egyptians are probably being encouraged to sign a contract already in Russia. 3/4 of those recruited for whom border service data is available lived in the country for more than a month before going to the capital recruitment. 39% for more than a year. Among them are former students of Russian universities and husbands of Russian women in the process of divorce. Iran and Algeria were also among the top 3 Middle Eastern countries whose citizens passed through the Moscow selection point. The Russian army also recruited foreigners from disadvantaged African countries. 72 people who passed through the Moscow selection point were from African countries. With high unemployment and poverty, the top 3 countries whose citizens passed through the Moscow recruitment point are Ghana, Cameroon, and Senegal. As per the report, the recruitment of labor migrants from the former Soviet Union into the Russian army became known in the first year of the full-scale war. At least 523 people from the former Soviet Union passed through the block of selection point alone in just over a year. Most were from Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, Belarus, Kyrgyzstan, and Kazakhstan. Some flew to Russia from their home countries on the same day or the day before they appeared at the selection point. But most of those, around 82% for whom border crossing data is available, had lived in Russia for more than a month, and 36% had often lived for more than a year.